Imagine a man so powerful, he held an entire country in the palm of his hand. A man whose fortune was once one of the greatest in the world, and whose name became synonymous with fear. This man, Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria, was born in the year of 1949 in a small town called Rio Negro, nestled in the heart of Colombia. He spent his youth in the vibrant city of Medellin, a place that would later become the epicenter of his empire. From an early age, it was clear that Escobar was not your average boy. He harbored an insatiable ambition, a burning desire for wealth and power that was far greater than what his humble beginnings would suggest. As a young man, he dipped his toes in the murky waters of crime. It started with small offenses, smuggling goods, stealing cars, petty crimes that were mere stepping stones for the empire he would later build. But don't be mistaken, these were not acts of desperation born out of poverty. No, they were calculated moves, the early signs of a strategic mind that would later orchestrate one of the most powerful criminal empires in history. His ambition wasn't to be a common criminal, but to rise above, to amass wealth and power beyond what anyone could imagine. As he navigated through the labyrinth of illicit activities, he was sharpening his skills, honing his cunning and ruthlessness, traits that would later define him as the world's most notorious drug lord. Yet, behind the terrifying persona, behind the name that would evoke fear across an entire nation, he was once just a boy from Medellin with big dreams and an even bigger ambition. His tale, like many others, started with a dream. But unlike most, his dream didn't lead to a path of righteousness. It led him down a dark road that would forever change the course of history. Before he became a notorious drug lord, he was just a boy with big dreams and an even bigger ambition. In the 1970s, he stumbled upon a business that would change his life forever: cocaine. Indeed, in the decade that brought us disco and Star Wars, Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria discovered the lucrative world of narcotics. But it wasn't a solo endeavor. Alongside a motley crew of fellow criminals, he founded what would later become known as the Medellin Cartel, a name that would soon instill fear and command respect in equal measure. The Medellin Cartel wasn't just a criminal organization. It was a meticulously managed business. Its product? Cocaine. Its market? Primarily the United States, with its insatiable appetite for the illicit white powder. The venture was not without its risks, but with risk came reward. And for Escobar, the rewards were astronomical. As the business rapidly expanded, so too did Escobar's wealth. From humble beginnings, he catapulted into the realms of the super rich. His fortune wasn't counted in millions, but billions. His name started to appear in the ranks of the wealthiest people on the planet. But it wasn't just about the money. Power and influence came with the territory, and Escobar reveled in it. He purchased extravagant properties, private jets, and even a zoo, filling it with exotic animals from around the globe. His wealth was not just a testament to his success, but a symbol of his power. He was more than a wealthy businessman. He was a kingpin, an emperor of an empire built on the white sands of cocaine. The rise of Escobar and the Medellin cartel was meteoric. The scale of their operations was unprecedented. The profits were mind-boggling, and the impact was devastating. The world had never seen anything like it. And just like that, a new empire was born, with Escobar at its helm. His reign was just beginning, and the world was about to witness the rise of a power so immense it would be remembered for generations to come. During the 1980s, Escobar's empire controlled a significant part of the cocaine trade to the United States. Diving into this era, we find ourselves in a world where one man's name was a byword for fear and power in equal measure. That man was Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria. Escobar's wealth was colossal, a fortune that exceeded billions of dollars. This was not a wealth accumulated over generations, but rather it was amassed in the span of a few short, bloody years. The origins of this fortune lay in the white powder that was cocaine, a commodity that Escobar and his associates had turned into a lucrative business. This wealth was not hoarded away in secret vaults, but rather it was flaunted and utilized. It bought Escobar properties spread across the globe, private planes that ensured his mobility, and a zoo filled with exotic animals that served as a testament to his extravagant lifestyle. His residence, Hacienda Naples, was a sprawling estate that was a testament to his opulence, a palace built with the profits of his illicit trade. But it wasn't just tangible assets that Escobar's wealth procured. It bought him something more intangible, yet equally powerful: influence. His fortune allowed him to weave a web of corruption that reached into the heart of Colombia's political system. Like a puppet master, he pulled strings, manipulated outcomes, and left his mark on the nation's socio-political landscape. Yet, with immense power came immense scrutiny. His wealth and influence made him a target. It bought him enemies in high places, enemies who were as relentless as they were powerful. Among them were the law enforcement agencies of the United States and his own country, Colombia, who were determined to bring him to justice. As the saying goes, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And in Escobar's case, his wealth and power ultimately led to his downfall. Money bought him power, but it also bought him enemies. And these enemies would soon close in on the most powerful drug lord the world had ever seen. But with power came violence. As Pablo Escobar's empire grew, so too did the darkness that cast a pall over Colombia. This was a time of terror, a time of fear, an era marked by a chilling orchestration of violence that would come to define the reign of the world's most notorious drug lord. Escobar's approach to maintaining his empire was as simple as it was brutal. He ruled with an iron fist, employing a strategy of bombings, assassinations, and attacks. His motto, plata o plomo, meaning silver or lead, offered a stark choice to those who dared to oppose him: take a bribe and live, or refuse and face the bullet. The bombings were perhaps the most horrifying aspect of Escobar's reign. Public places became war zones, with innocent civilians caught in the crossfire. A single bombing could claim dozens, even hundreds of lives, sowing chaos and fear in its wake. It was a brutal display of power, a message to anyone who dared to challenge the might of the Medellin cartel. Escobar's reign was also characterized by targeted assassinations. Judges, politicians, police officers, no one was safe. These assassinations served a dual purpose. On one hand, they removed those who stood in Escobar's way. On the other, they sent a chilling message: oppose the cartel, and you risk not just your life, but the lives of those you love. But perhaps the most pervasive aspect of this reign of terror was the constant undercurrent of fear. It was a fear that permeated every strata of Colombian society. From the poorest barrios to the corridors of power, everyone lived under the shadow of Escobar's violence. Every explosion, every gunshot, every news report of another assassination served as a grim reminder of the power of the Medellin cartel. His name became a symbol of terror, a reminder of the violence that came with unchecked power. In the reign of Pablo Escobar, power and violence were two sides of the same coin, a stark testament to the dark side of ambition. After years of pursuit by the Colombian government and international agencies, Escobar became the world's most wanted man. The end of the 1980s saw the beginning of the end for Pablo Escobar's reign. His empire, built on fear and violence was slowly crumbling under the weight of its own sins. The world's eyes were on him, the law was closing in, and the once untouchable Kingpin found himself cornered. By the early 1990s, Escobar was ensnared by a web of his own making. His actions had set off a chain of reactions that he could no longer control. His empire was fracturing, his allies were turning on him, and his enemies were closing in. The relentless pursuit by the Colombian government, aided by the United States and international agencies, was intensifying. The search for Escobar became a symbol of the global fight against drug trafficking. Despite his attempts to evade capture, his days were numbered. On the second day of December, 1993, in his hometown of Medellin, the inevitable happened. Escobar, the man who had eluded authorities for years, was finally located. It was a day marked by violence, a day that would go down in history as the end of an era. In the midst of a rooftop shootout, the world's most notorious drug lord met his end. Pablo Escobar, the man who had once held a nation in the grip of fear, the man who had built an empire on the backs of countless victims, was no more. His death marked the fall of one of the most powerful empires in the history of organized crime. An empire that had risen from the streets of Medellin to span continents. An empire built on trafficking, corruption, and terror. And just like that, the reign of the world's most notorious drug lord came to an end. The fall of Pablo Escobar's empire serves as a stark reminder of the destructive power of unchecked ambition and the inevitable downfall of those who choose to rule through fear and violence. This marked the end of the story of the most infamous drug lord in history, Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria, a man who ascended from the depths of poverty to the pinnacle of unimaginable wealth. His name, even decades later, remains etched in the annals of history, a chilling reminder of the power and terror he once wielded. A man who rose from nothing, amassed unimaginable wealth and power, and whose legacy continues to echo in the annals of history. This was Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria,